Hi, I'm back! I've been away for quite some time, I'm so excited to be back, but I'll tell you this, no amount of time and distance can keep me away from VR, not even being on a plane. Yes, I totally took my Quest 2 on a 10-hour flight and it was quite an interesting experience. Definitely not what I expected, but against a popular belief, you can still do plenty of things in VR on a plane, both with and without tracking. I've learned some interesting things about the best way to use VR while flying, and I'm excited to share my tips with you today. You can use these tips not only on a plane but also on a train or in a car. Just make sure you're not the driver. Before we start, please consider subscribing to Disco VR for more creative and fun VR videos. I also have Twitter and Instagram pages where I post all the major channel news and updates and interesting VR related content, so make sure to follow those as well. And now here are my 10 tips that will help you get the most out of your VR gaming on a plane. If you're ready, let's go! Tip number 1 is something I never thought I would say, but here it goes. Use the original soft stock strap. Yes, after almost a dozen different videos I made featuring various Quest 2 head straps, I am now telling you, do not throw away your stock strap because it works great on a plane. First, it's going to be easier to pack it and take it aboard as it will take very little room in your carry-on. But second reason, it's actually way more comfortable to use on a plane. You're going to be sitting in a confined space and naturally you'll want to kick your head back, and trust me, it's not going to be comfortable if you're using any of the plastic straps. Besides, you're not going to be able to play any active games anyway, and the stock strap will work just fine for static VR experiences. Tip number 2, make sure you download the applications that do not require tracking. And by no tracking, I actually mean 3 degrees of freedom tracking. In 3 degrees of freedom, only the orientation of your headset is being tracked and not its position in 3 axes. Think apps for Oculus Go or Samsung Gear. Those will certainly work best on the plane because the changes of altitudes will not matter and your VR experiences will not be interrupted. Granted, there aren't that many games on App Store that you can play with only 3 degrees of freedom, but you can certainly use it for, say, watching movies. Just make sure to download the movies onto your Quest beforehand. Big screen is probably the best way to watch the movies you uploaded on your Quest. I explained how to do that in my previous tutorial linked below in the description. The third tip is regarding using Netflix. Yes, Netflix is also great for watching movies in VR, but you need to know a special trick how to watch them offline, since most probably you won't have any internet on a plane. The native Netflix app doesn't allow you to download movies on your Quest to watch them offline. However, there is a genius way to get around it by sideloading an Android version of the Netflix app onto your Quest. And it works like a charm, and you end up having your own personal movie theater while flying on a plane. I explained how to sideload the Android version of Netflix on your Quest in my recent tutorial, so definitely give it a watch because this is a must-have app if you want to watch VR movies on the go without the internet connection. The fourth tip is that you can still play games that require headset tracking while being on a plane. For example, I tried playing stationary games like Demio and Catan, and it actually worked, even though it wasn't the most comfortable, but I was so bored on the plane that I could easily deal with those little inconveniences. All I had to do was turn on the stationary boundary in the settings, and the circle around me was actually more than enough space, so I didn't really need to go through the trouble of disabling the Guardian in the developers mode. Whatever games you play, pick the ones that do not require lots of hand movements. That's another reason I played Demio and Catan, since you can set your own pace of the game and it works really well. The next tip is also about playing VR games that require tracking. You should avoid playing games that require tracking when the plane is gaining or losing the altitude. That will result in you either falling through the floor or lifting through the roof. I must say it does look pretty fun, but as soon as you go beyond the gaming limits, you will lose your tracking and potentially your gaming progress. So it's probably a bad idea to play in the first or the last 45 minutes to 1 hour of your flight. Luckily for me, my 10-hour flight gave me more than enough time to stay roughly at the same altitude while playing. So tip number 6 is when you do fly outside of the playing area, you will see this window informing you that the tracking was lost. Do not quit the app. In fact, if you will just wait a few seconds, the tracking will most probably come back, as the plane might just go through some slight turbulence, and as soon as it stabilizes, you'll be brought back to the game right where you left it. I've made a mistake to quit the game a couple of times before I realized that it would actually bring me back without losing my progress if I wait just a little bit. So be patient and you'll be able to continue playing even if you go outside of the gaming area. So do not hit quit, just wait a little bit. Next tip, even if your flight is very smooth, you might still notice some occasional shaking of the gaming screen, and if you don't keep recentering yourself, you might eventually get thrown out of your gaming area. That's why tip number 7 is recenter, recenter, recenter. Even if your position has shifted just a little bit, still recenter. It might feel a little bit unusual to recenter really often, but you really get used to it, and after a while I didn't even notice how I was doing it. You just need to do it occasionally to make sure that you are maintaining your position in the middle of the gaming area. Tip number 8 might be helpful depending on the time of your flight. If you're flying during the night like me, try turning on the light above your head. I was actually quite impressed with my Quest 2 tracking, all things considered, but the downside of this tip is that you might draw a bit more attention to yourself because you will literally sit in the spotlight for everyone to see that you're playing VR, even though, you know what? Why should you care? You live in the future. Own it. Tip number 9, please use your headphones. I hope it goes without saying, but still, it might seem like the volume on your Quest is pretty low for anyone to hear, but I assure you, you'll be hated by all the passengers and the crew if you don't use your headphones. So please bring a pair of headphones with you on a plane to use while playing VR. And lastly, make sure to take good care of your headset while on a plane, and especially when you pack it. You may take a separate carrying case just for your Quest 2, but going back to my very first tip, if you want to save room and pack it in your carry-on, make sure you use lens protectors and a soft bag. You may also use the carton lens protector that came in your Quest box. Simply insert the protector into your lenses and it will help protect it from any scratches. I also suggest wrapping your headset in bubble wrap if you want to put it directly in your carry-on and not bring a separate VR case on the plane. If you do that, remember to be gentle with your carry-on bag. You've got a very precious cargo in there. Let me know in the comments if you have ever played VR on a plane and how did it go for you. My personal opinion is that watching movies is probably the best way to use VR on a plane or in a car, but maybe you've got some other thoughts? I hope you found these tips helpful. Do let me know if you try your VR during a flight. I'm really curious how it's going to work for you. Remember to subscribe to Disco VR, and thank you so much for watching this video. Stay safe, and as always, happy gaming!